G'day everyone, and welcome to the start of another video as Sally and I make our way around the Eyre Peninsula. And in this one it has us leaving Ceduna and we go to Whittleby campground, and well, actually it's a conservation park, and we spend 2 nights here off grid. Comes in a bit stormy on the last night, but we didn't get washed away, and from there we make our way to Smoky Bay, and we have a bit of a look around Smoky Bay. And while we're in Smoky Bay, we venture out to Point Brown. Oh, magnificent coastline out there, very pretty indeed. We hope you enjoy and like what we show you out there, so let's get into it. I'm Mick and this is Sally. Together we've been caravanning Australia since the 1980s, and more recently we started to put the videos together just to show you some of what we see out there. There's a lot to see in Australia, and we hope you enjoy what we have here to show you. You can follow us on our trips via the following social media platforms. It was only a very short run from Ceduna down to Whittleby Conservation Park, and we didn't really want to leave too early just in case we got down there, and there's still campers on the site that we had preferred. The majority of the road going down to this campground was dirt road, and it was in reasonable sort of condition. Some of it was quite corrugated towards the end, but nothing that you couldn't manage if you were willing to take your time and drive to road conditions. As this camping area was so close to Ceduna, we did cheat a bit. We came down the day before and had a look around, and that's where we chose the campsite that we're going to today. Although we couldn't see the campsite from the road that we just turned off of, we did do a walk in just to make sure that no one was still there, and it was all free for us to set ourselves up on. With Sally waiting for me to bring the van down, it was just a matter of finding a level spot, setting the van up and enjoying the sea views. G'day everyone, and we're currently at Whittleby Conservation Park, not very far down from Ceduna, and right on the water's edge, but of course with that comes a wind, so we're not sure whether we're going to be here for 1 or 2 nights. It just depends how the weather plays out, but very nice here. There was weather forecast to come in later on in the week, and we weren't quite sure how much wind we were going to get while we were here. But one thing that we did know is, should it come up windy, we could sit in the van, enjoy ourselves there, and look out the window or the door and still see all this water. We are parked on a cliff top, and there's plenty of these signs here warning people not to get too close to the edge. The Eyre Peninsula has got some very wonderful coastal sceneries, and the scene that we had here where we were parked up was going to be very nice to look at for the next couple of days. This part of the coastline is very rugged and stony, not a lot of sand, but still beautiful all the same. I tried to capture the bees here working the flowers, but no sooner they landed on one flower and they were off to the next one, just too quick to catch on camera. It's amazing how these wildflowers germinate and grow in the conditions that they do, but they relish where they are, and quite pretty to look at. There are several camping areas that you can camp out here, and this one here that we're looking at now, this is a dedicated camping area, and one of the few that are set out in this way. As we start to make our way to Whittleby Point, it's a pretty rugged walk, this one. It's all firm and stone, but you had to be careful that you didn't slide on the loose rocks as you made your way out to the point. with the wind blowing today, one side of it was protected from the wind on the point, and the other side you were facing into the wind, and I couldn't get over these birds here. They appeared as though they preferred to face into the wind rather than go on the other side, which was a little bit more sheltered. As we walked around the point, the colour of the rocks certainly made for interesting viewing. And if you had the sound of water, it just made for a great location to be in. As the tides moved in and out during the day, the waterline didn't go back very far at all. It really looked like it was going to be a stormy night on our last night out here, and we weren't sure what was really going to happen with the wind and the rain, but as it turned out, you're watching this video, so you know we survived it. After our time camping at the Whittleby Conservation Park, it was time to pack up and start to make our way down towards Smoky Bay. The wind had now died down, and with the short run to go to Smoky Bay, it was quite a pleasant day to be out on the road. There was two directions or two ways that we could go to Smoky Bay from where we were. We could go back in towards Ceduna and enjoy a little bit more bitumen road, or we could make that right-hand turn and head down on the dirt road as we did here, and that almost cut our distance in halves. The road was in good condition. Once we were back on the bitumen road, it didn't seem to take long at all, and we were turning off to head into the township of Smoky Bay. What a very pretty sign to welcome you to Smoky Bay. Not having to travel very far from our last camping location to Smoky Bay this morning, we arrived here nice and early, and actually too early for the caravan park to accept check-in, so it was down to the jetty and time for a walk out onto the jetty. You read the tourist information on towns like this, and they've got their jetties, and there's supposedly good fishing from the jetty once you know what you're doing, but certainly when you get out towards the end of the jetty, it is set up for people to sit out there because they've got their little shelter sheds as wind breaks and rain breaks, I guess, for people that want to be out there in rough sort of conditions. As I was walking out onto the jetty, I noticed the names that we're looking at now were etched into some of the planks, and I assume that they're in memorial to people of the area. Can someone please leave me a note down below just to let me know the purpose or the reason that they're there? By the time I got back to the jetty car park, it was just about full of caravans, and we noticed during our stay here in the caravan park at Smoky Bay, the number of caravans coming down here was colossal. It was now past check-in time, so it was time to go to the caravan park and set ourselves up. G'day everyone, and we've moved on from the Whittleby Conservation Park this morning, and we're now at Smoky Bay, and the wind's still persistent, so we've got to put up with that down here, but never mind. And at this stage, 2 nights here. The Smoky Bay Caravan Park is only a small caravan park, very clean though, and the moment that someone vacates a site, they're out with the rakes and raking the site to make sure there's nothing left behind and it's clean and ready for the next user. There is a dump point here, and that's discreetly located between all the buildings. There is a great camp kitchen here, as well as good seating that you can sit down and enjoy your meal. This area within the park wasn't being used, and I can only assume that perhaps it's an overflow area. There's quite a few people coming and going while we were here, and for a lot of them, staying more than one night. The caravan park is located right on the waterfront, and there is a concrete path that allows you to walk from the caravan park down to the fishing jetty. Apparently it was a couple of years ago that the front here was washed away with a storm, and there's major works being done at the moment to bring it back to its former glory. Great beaches for swimming, and I can see this place would be packed during the summer peak period. Smoky Bay is a very clean beachside community. The jetty does extend quite some distance out into the water, and as well as that, they've got a well-maintained boat ramp. During the period that we were here, there didn't seem to be a lot of the normal everyday man going out fishing with his boat, but as we were walking around the car parking area up at the top of the boat ramp, there was reservations or reserved areas for the professional fishermen, so perhaps it's more used by the professional people more so than the everyday angler. This is what you'd have to call as being dedicated fishing. Not a lot of cloud in the sky tonight to give us that wonderful sunset, but by heck, this one still wasn't too bad. It was decided today that we'd take the short drive out to Point Brown and have a look at the area out there. You can camp out there if you wish, and some of it's pretty harsh going to get into, and others you can take a caravan if you want to. The coastline out at Point Brown is very, very stunning, and you can understand why people would want to come out and camp in the area. The road going out is all gravel, some of it rough, and for the most, the best part of it was in reasonable sort of condition. There are literally hundreds of camping locations out here. You can drive around, pick the spot that you want, set up camp, and away you go. But the side that we're going out now, I would imagine, I'm not sure, but I would imagine it's predominantly swagging and tenting, or a off-road camper trailer. Pretty rugged. Whether you'd get a small off-road caravan out here, that I'm not too sure. As we watch these big waves keep coming in one after the other, and the power of the ocean pushing them, you could sit out here and watch it all day. With the coastal views that we're looking at now, it's easy to understand why the Eyre Peninsula is such a tourist destination hotspot. There are no shortage of these little tracks running around as seen here, and you can always know that you're going to be able to get to that little spot that you want to head for. The scenery changes all the time, from thundering waves to rocky outcrops and to areas like we are now with a few bushes growing, and then you're back into the rocks. Sally's out there waiting for that perfect time to take that picture, but just how close do you get to capture the one you're after? The tracks that we've been driving on to take us around to all these beaches on this particular part of Point Brown are very good. You could do 99% of them with a conventional car. There was one that I think you really needed a high clearance four-wheel drive, well, not necessarily four-wheel drive, but certainly a high clearance vehicle. And on one occasion we did get stuck in the sand where we had to reverse out quite easily, but we were running highway pressures. We hadn't let our tyres down at that stage, and other than that, quite good to get around. This sort of stuff, we could stay here and watch it all day. Sally and I come out to these sort of locations and we think we might be gone from the caravan for a couple of hours, but once you get out here and start to looking at everything, time soon flies and you wonder where the day's gone. Now back on the road that we came in on, and we do this left-hand turn to go to the opposite direction that we have just come from, and we're off out here to see what we can find. Not to say that this is a side that you would come only if you wanted to camp with a caravan, not at all, but we found more suitable sites for caravans, or one that you get a reasonable sized caravan in, versus going the other way that we went when we first arrived. The area that we're in now, being further away from the point of Point Brown, is starting to rise back to higher cliffs. As we continued to follow the tracks around, we came to these sand dunes, so we parked up and thought we'd go for a walk towards the water, but once we climbed up on top of some of the dunes, the water was a little bit further away than what we first anticipated. Some of the dunes were too steep to climb up and certainly gave the leg muscles a bit of a workout. For our last night at Smoky Bay, we had a bit of an orange glow above the ocean as the sun was setting in the west. I will wrap this video up here, and great here at Smoky Bay and Point Brown. That coastline out there, pretty terrific. Would have been a little bit nicer perhaps if there was a bit more sun while we're out there, but you can't help that when you're travelling around. And we'll kick off tomorrow with part 3, leaving here, and we'll be heading down towards Streaky Bay. So if you want to see more of what the Eyre Peninsula's got to offer, stay with us, hit that like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on that next video. Until that does go up, you take care and look after yourself.